Hi, my name is Koen. I'm a Belgian educator, researcher, and author, and today I'd like to discuss why and how I launched global educational projects using technology. So, why? First of all, I think there's something wrong in formal education. Students are really focusing on knowledge acquisition, memorization, and assessment, and I think we're doing it wrong. As Jean Leif stated, teaching is neither necessary nor sufficient to produce learning, and she wants to say that we need to focus on learning rather than teaching. And second, we can learn in very different ways. And second, there's really a lack of collaboration in education. So, several classrooms in one school, there's no collaboration between those classrooms, and not mentioning between schools or even between schools from different continents. There's a lack of creativity, and it's a very disturbing paradox that the longer we go to school, the less creativity we can spot in a classroom. And then we have this climate change, refugees, and those global issues. And we are confronted with those issues on a nearly daily basis in media, newspapers, radio stations, etc. And still, we nearly know anything about those issues. And children are coming to on the street, and there's the climate action strike, and students are really begging to know more about those issues. But how to deal with those in classrooms? And we have World Economic Forum pointed out that robots will displace a lot of jobs globally, but probably will create twice the amount of new ones. But those will require very different skills like complex problem solving, critical thinking, and creativity and empathy, and how to deal with those very important skills in our classrooms. So it's like my buddy, Mike Soskel, once stated, it's hard to change the world when you don't know much about it. And that's very true. And so I decided to do it very different. And I launched global educational projects. In the first one, I brought free education to our African refugee camp. And the Kakuma refugee camp in Kenya houses 200,000 refugees, of whom 55% are children. They have a lot of teachers, I think like 600, and 40% of them are not trained at all. 86% of them are refugees themselves. And so I decided to offer them a free education using Skype. It's a free tool, it's a very simple tool. And so I started to teach math and science and literature using Skype. And I noticed that several educators were interested in joining the team, and we now have 350 educators across the world in 75 different countries offering a free education. And we sent our own laptops, internet connection using crowdfunding, and we even developed our own solar suitcase, which is offering a free power supply to those schools in Kakuma. But I noticed, and this is the most important part of this project, the teachers are so ready to share their knowledge and passion. And second, it was so hard to ship my laptop to the refugee camp, and it was so easy to find 350 educators from across the world willing to help. And it's not only about teaching the refugees, it's also about connecting students, your students, with those refugees and offering them a fair insight and perspective into the refugees' lives. And once I noticed that the teachers across the world can be a real good network and they're really engaged, I decided to launch another project. Focusing on the UN SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals like climate change, gender equality, etc., we launched the Climate Action Project, involving 515 schools across 19 different countries. And all I asked the teachers was that please allow your students to do the work. They have to explore, brainstorm, create, connect, discuss, present, and share their findings on a weekly basis by publishing a video on my website. And this way, the students were able to learn from each other. And in several countries, they crafted and made beautiful stuff in pizza boxes, but they also did science tests. The project was introduced in schools with students aged 6 to 21 in every subject like history, math, science, English, etc. And they went on excursions and they invited their parents, so they were able to bring change at home as well. This group, we lost two students That's awful, right? And that's because, due to the mud flows which happened in Sierra Leone because of the climate change. But those students were able to capture their story on videos, which were watched by students from across the world. And this way, students learn from each other, from their global peers directly, which is much better than textbooks, right? And they had live interactions. This is one interaction between Ireland and Denmark, but we traveled 100,000 virtual miles having Skype interactions. Students they learn to use technology in a meaningful way, and students from 50 different countries they made their own eco-friendly world in Minecraft. And once you start using Minecraft in your classroom as a teacher, you have to realize that your students will know more about Minecraft than you do, which is perfectly fine, and that's a taboo, I know. And so the students in Tunisia, they created their own video game. We had experts from Discovery Channel who shared their wisdom and their expertise. And we had Beto, who is someone from Brazil. He shared his expertise with Celine Cousteau in a webinar. And we had students in Indonesia teaming up with companies which made learning more authentic, and they created their own eco bricks. But also, technology has a drawback, like fake news. And this teacher, Tara from Arizona, she realized that her students basically believe everything they read on the internet, and she decided to tackle critical thinking. We had students from Egypt who went to school during 4 weeks of summer holidays. They were that engaged. So, we don't want students to do more than just studying facts and memorizing. They need to solve problems as well. We had students from Canada who 3D printed their own coral reefs, from Nigeria who created and developed their own biomass plants, own solar driven cars, own biodegradable plastic. You can find the recipe on the internet. Students from Canada and Argentina created their own water bubbles and editable plastic bottles. We had aquaponics in an American school with Mike Soskell, which solved the problem of the students in Malawi because they are now able to grow plants with 90% less water. But they also took action. They went to prime ministers in Sweden. They went on a flash mob in Germany with famous singers. They went on a march in Peru. They recycled in Vietnam. The students in Ireland, they received a letter from their president, and and this is really mind blowing. Students in Malawi, because of this small project, the climate action project, they started to plant 60 million trees. That's 60 million trees. Isn't that just mind blowing? This project was supported by Dalai Lama, Helen Clark, Charlize Theron, and several famous people, and so it came in the media, national media, in more than 45 different countries. And we discovered that students are able to blow our minds when they are able to step in their own learning center and process. So we all have been taught in this way, instructivism, in which the teacher is at the center of the or in the front of the classroom, and he's pouring knowledge, or she is pouring knowledge into the students' heads. But this is a framework which works very well as well in different scenarios, like students being part of the learning process and learning in a group by constructing and presenting and brainstorming and discussing. And there's also connectivism, in which students learn in a network. And every source of knowledge is a node, which can be a peer, which can be social media, a blog, a book, a teacher, or an expert. And when you decide start using technology in your classroom, you have to use this framework, the TPAC model, which points out that you always have to connect your content to the pedagogy, and then you have to find the technology. So, where to go to? When we decided with the global project and with the Cucumber project, we decided to scale up, and we launched the Innovation Lab schools with the global goalschools.com. And what we are going to do is using our own curriculum, the Global Goals book created by 16 authors across the world, which will be translated to 13 different languages. And during one single week, 1,000 teachers from across the world signed up to join the project to teach for free. We have the support of Jane Goodall, which is a world renowned researcher. And together we will build the first 3 labs in Tanzania and South Africa. This is the first lab in Pugu, but we are also working on labs in the Arctic of Canada and Australia, Argentina, Brazil with street kids, and several African countries, including Morocco, Uganda, etc. There will be research conducted by a university to measure impact, and we aim to offer a free education to 1 million kids, train teachers from across the world, and empower students to do better, to create solutions for students in other continents. So, when you want to join the project, please go to globalgoalschools.com and hit join us. You can teach refugees in Kakuma, you can write curriculum, you can have Skype interactions with students from across the world and have fun. Thank you.